I bought this single family home for $278,000 and it's getting demoed behind me. What most people don't know is this land is actually zoned for up to 15 units. So I'm gonna build a 6-unit townhome project, and let me show you how I break this down. All right, so let's break down the deal for you on the whiteboard. We picked up this lot for $275 and I'm building a 6-unit project. The real estate game comes down to 3 major buckets. The first major bucket is gonna be value. What's the property worth when it's finished? The second bucket is gonna be build cost. How much can I build it for? And this ranges, we talk about all the time, anywhere from $100 to $180 per square foot on the build side. And then what can I pay for the land, maximum land price? Now, step 1, when it comes to value, obviously you gotta run comps. What's comparables in the area? What is happening in this neighborhood or in this general area? So what I like to do is you go to filter and go minimum year built is 2020. What that does is I can see homes that were built that were 5 years or that are within 5 years, meaning from 2020 to 2025, and I can see what's happening in this market. Now, specifically here, you're gonna see, man, that's kind of strange. I wonder why there's these houses where you're having, let's just say, a 4-plex. Well, how in the world is there a 4-plex and then literally right next to it, there's just this old single family home that's a 1908, for example. And this one's built in 2022. You might think, well, how is it that these two next to each other are built? Or how is this built next to that? It comes down to literally right here, which is underneath the ground, and that's zoning. This specific property, before we get into the comps, is the zoning. What does that look like? What am I allowed to actually build on the property? So I'm buying this lot. This lot is a 50 by 100 foot lot. So 50 by 100 foot, we'll go through comps real quick, but to show you guys, we got 50 feet by 100 feet. So 50 here and 100 here. And the house just sits in the middle, and both of these are streets. So hopefully you know what a street looks like. The zoning here says I can do up to 20 units on this parcel. It's called residential multifamily zoning. Because it's all single family homes around and based on the comps, it's all a bunch of townhomes. I don't think building a 5-story apartment unit within a neighborhood of single family homes or ADUs and duplexes makes sense, meaning I could build it, but it may not sell. So I run comparables, comps, and I look what's actually happening out here. And I see out here, there's ADUs that are selling for $400K. There's duplexes that are selling for $350 a door. And then there's 4-plexes selling for $320 a door. 4-plexes, roughly 4 to 6 units. So on this parcel, what I actually could do, because it's higher density, higher zoning, typically I'll put a duplex or a 4-plex on this lot. So like Fircrest is a project I'm building, I have a duplex on here. I have another project called Kenton, and I have a 4-plex. But the zoning is much higher density. They want you to do more units. I actually ended up fitting a total of 6 units. I'm taking up most of this space here, and the way that it looks like, it goes like this. I've got one, this is 5, but it's actually, so we'll break it down like this. There you go. So I got 6. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they're all loaded from streets. The city allows it, and I'm doing 2 stories. Why? Because I'm seeing I could build a duplex and get $400K each, that's $800,000. Or I could build a 4-plex and I'll get 1.4 million. Or I could build a 6-plex, and I don't know the math on that. 6 times, so 6, 12, 18, 2, 6 is 112. I'll get roughly 1.9 million. As you can see, it makes sense to do 1.9 million versus 800 and 1.4, which brings me to, you have those comparables. That's what I'm seeing in the area. The second rule is build costs. I know in my area, I'm building for around $150 a square foot. So $150 per square foot. And then land costs, here's the rule. It's called the rule of 20. Rule of 20. What does this mean? You should never, or yeah, obviously this is my rule, but if the numbers pencil, then they pencil. But this is the rule that I've seen across over 240 doors, that 99% of my deals are sitting below 20%. So 20% or less of the finished value, which means this number. So 1.9 million times 20% would be 380,000, I think. I don't know why my brain is not working right now, but pretty sure it's 380. So go 1.9 million times 20% is 380. And I paid 275 for this divided by 1.89 million. I'm at 15%. So I'm paying 15% of the total value of this build, which means I just have more room to make sure it's a profitable deal. So 15% of the land value, my build cost is 150 a square foot, and my value is 1.9 million. Okay, so that's what I've noticed as rule of thumb. All of this should target for you to make at least a 20% ROI, which is return on investment, return on cost. And then usually what I like to do is, based on this, the bank will give me a loan for 85% of the cost, and then I bring down the rest of the cash, which would be 15% down, which in result, I will make 100 to 200% on my down payment. So these are my rules that I always follow, and I'm at 15%. That's why I hopped in on this deal. This was listed on the market, but I hopped in on it because it was listed for 250. I paid 275 or 278, and I still didn't even hit my 20% mark. So I was like, dude, this is a phenomenal deal. It's a corner lot. Most people think you can build a fourplex. I know I can do a sixplex, and I got this really cool, unique plan, and I mixed it up based on comps. I did 1 bedrooms, I did 2 bedrooms, and I did 3 bedrooms. So I mixed it up with all of these 3. I actually did 2 of them. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I did 1 3-bedroom. So I'm mixing up this here, which honestly, based on this, I think I can go 2 mil plus, and which just makes it that much better of a deal. So remember, there's 3 different buckets in infill development. If you're just doing one single home, it doesn't matter. The value, how much is the build cost, and how much is the land? Land should never be more than 20%. Very rare cases it is. Majority of the time, I'm between 10 and 20%. If you're in areas where values are less, build is roughly the same. If values are less in general, usually land will start to drop as well. So in Missouri, for example, you could build a 3,000 square foot house for 600 grand. You don't want to pay 120 for the lot. You're paying 10%, which is 60K. But that's where you do these numbers to spit out this number. And what happens is this. If this number is less than 20, then you have to adjust. You cannot adjust the value. So if it's less than 20, you can't adjust the value. If it's less than 20, you cannot adjust the build cost. It's just what it is. The only thing you can or you should adjust is land. So remember, if you're not getting at least a 20% ROI on the total cost, you cannot adjust value. You can't pretend it's going to sell for more or hope for appreciation. That's a big mistake. You cannot hope you're going to build it for less. You have your budget. If you build for less, it's a bonus. You have to adjust the land price. So guys, that's the summary of it. I'll give you guys a quick example of 20% ROI and what that looks like based on this project here. So, or any project, we'll just make some numbers up. So let's just say the project is worth $1 million and you're going to build it for 500K, and the rule of 20 equals 200K for land. Your gross profit, and so your sale price, your gross profit is 300,000, okay? So profit, but you have to take away agent fees, which is 5%. 5% is 50K. So agent and closing. Don't want to taking too long to write. So 250 is your profit, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to take these 2 numbers and you're going to divide the 250 by those 2 numbers. So 250K divided by the cost, which is build and land, divided by the 700K equals ROI, return on investment. And so in this case, you're at 250 divided by 700 is 35%. Would you guys do this project? Yes or no? I hope so. That means though, on the threshold of 700,000, I can take 20% of this number
and I can make 140. So if I go 140 divided by 700, I'm making 20. So I could do 140K divided by 700, and it's still a good project. It'll equal 20%. Make sense? So in this case, you know, technically I could pay a little bit more for the land because my build cost is frozen. You can't change that, and you don't change that. So this land price is where you can start moving the numbers. But again, in my opinion and in my experience, usually land is 20% or less. So in this case, you know, build cost is less, but for $1 million home, most likely you're building a 3,000 square foot house, which could cost you 600K. So your net profit is 150, and that'll bring it down to about 22%. Real life scenario right now, I'm building a house that's worth 1.4 million. I don't usually build high-end homes, but this is a real scenario. I bought this project 1.4 million. My construction budget on this build is 500K, and my land I paid 300K. Okay, so you might look at this and go, well, 1.4 means a maximum I can pay is 280. 280K is max. But because the value is higher than the construction, and my cost is 800K on 1.4, I've got a really good margin here, and so I overpaid for the land to get the deal done. So if I take 1.4 million minus 5% is 1,330 minus 800K. I'm at 530 gross profit. 530K divided by 800K equals a 60% return. So that's why you overpay for the land. If I add builder fees and finance, I might be at 900K cost. Still, again, it's a great deal. So some cases you'll pay a little bit more. Here I'm paying whatever that number is. It might be 22, 23%. This is very rare. It's because it's a super high-end neighborhood, and costs are still costs. That's just what it costs to build a home. Even if it costs me 600K and I get all the finance fees and it costs me 1 mil, let's just say 1 mil, I'm still at a 50% margin. So in these cases, you can overpay slightly for the land, but the rule of thumb, still 22% is pretty close to 20%. It's off by a little bit. 280 and 300, I'm okay to overpay by 20 grand if I have a $500,000 profit. That's a wrap. That's how I look at my deals on the grand scheme of things. And like, share, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions, or you want me to break down something else specific, or there's something in here that maybe I didn't clarify or break down in detail. I'll get you another video.